Phoenix Suns have been making moves around the edges this year to be a better and more competent NBA team in the Western Conference. And even though they got to look around with some players, it all starts with the coaching staff. We've already seen Frank Vogel been fired, Mike Budenholzer brought in, but now we have some more announcements with the coaching staff as 2 assistants have been named, and we're going to be diving in looking at that. Plus, on the roster standpoint, could a veteran rebound center make sense for the Phoenix Suns? We'll be looking at all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, but before we dive in on all of this Phoenix Suns news, 90% of you guys who watch our videos are not subscribed, and we appreciate that number going down effectively, guys. But if you want to make sure you stay up to date on daily Phoenix Suns content, hit that subscribe button down below, as this is the place for you guys as we try to get to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. You guys have been absolutely fantastic hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and we appreciate every single one of you. Without further ado, though, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack, as it's going to be a jam-packed episode. And like I mentioned in the introduction, the Phoenix Suns have made some coaching additions. We know when we broke down some recent videos, so if you guys missed that, check that out. But we broke down the Mike Budenholzer signing, CJ and I going what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, and diving in on that on a full retrospective. But now the Suns have made some other coaching additions as well, looking at the assistant head coaching staff. If we want to look at this tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski, we can see that David Fizdale is returning to the Phoenix Suns in a prominent assistant coaching role on Mike Budenholzer's staff. Sources tell ESPN. Fizdale has been on Frank Vogel's staff, and now Budenholzer is keeping the 2-time NBA head coach as part of the new group on the bench. Now, Fizdale was offered a spot in the front office and respectfully declined. So, like Suns fans thought, and kind of like myself thought as well, I thought he'd be on his way going to a different franchise, but he's staying with the Phoenix Suns. This is going to be good for this roster. Obviously, Fizdale has some comfortability with Phoenix already, and he is a former NBA head coach. Obviously, 2-time head coach, now part of this bench unit, and I like to see him working with Mike Budenholzer. There also could be some other possible assistants coming our way as well. We obviously, CJ and I have kind of rumored talking about Darvin Ham possibly coming over. Him and Mike Budenholzer had a great relationship, and with him being fired from the Los Angeles Lakers, he could be a notable candidate. But another candidate was hired today. Utah Jazz assistant Chad Forcier will be joining Mike Budenholzer's staff as well in Phoenix, according to league sources. So the Suns, like we mentioned, have been doing some teetering around the edges, and they've started with the coaching staff so far this season. They stripped Frank Vogel down, they stripped all the assistants down, and they wanted to start with something fresh. Matt Ishbia, James Jones wanted to give Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker a new look for this offense. They realized they messed up last season, and this was their solution. Going after Mike Budenholzer, a fantastic offensively minded coach, and now having 2 assistants in Chad Forcier and David Fizdale now a part of this staff. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you guys think that these were smart moves made by the Phoenix Suns? Do you guys think that the Phoenix Suns could have went after some better or even more intelligent assistant head coaches to put alongside Mike Budenholzer? Let me know what you guys think. Who do you guys think is a good fit? Who do you guys think is a bad fit? Ultimately, I'm excited to see what this new coaching staff can bring for this squad. Kevin Durant had mentioned in the past that with Frank Vogel, the offense wasn't really working with him. He didn't really like the comfortability and his fit in that offense. So I want to see how Mike Budenholzer can, really bring this big juggernaut of offensive trio of Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant together, and see how they can ultimately work alongside each other. I'm really excited to see how this Phoenix Suns team can be. They got 49s last season, and I think they can do better than that if they make some changes and on the edges of the roster. But now we're going to be talking about some roster movement here, talking about a veteran rebounder that I think could be a huge X factor to the Phoenix Suns if he was added, and that is Andre Drummond. CJ and I have brought up the fact of bringing in Andre Drummond in a couple of our trade videos. So if you guys have checked that, if you've been long-time subscribers, you guys have heard us mention the name before, but we got a little bit of an update here. We saw a tweet from Evan Cedery drop this morning talking about Andre Drummond is expected to have a robust market in free agency from contending teams. The Sixers and Suns chased Andre Drummond at February's trade deadline, and they still will likely be among the other teams as well. Drummond averaged around 8.4 points and 9.4 rebounds in 17 minutes on the Chicago Bulls. If we want to look at his stats for the season, you guys can see 8.4 points, 9 rebounds, 55% shooting from the field, 59% from the free throw. So he's getting better from his field goal percentage. A little bit on the dwindling numbers, but obviously Drummond has gotten a little bit older in age and has taken more of a backup role for the Chicago Bulls this season, with them having Nikola Vucevic as their starting center. But as we saw with Nikola Vucevic going down for the Chicago Bulls for a little bit of this season, Andre Drummond can come in, step in, and be that big-time rebounder. There were a plethora of games this season where he was a standout contributor for the Chicago Bulls, getting at least a double-double, if not 15 to 20 rebounds some nights, which is crazy to think from a guy like Andre Drummond, who has gotten older in age. He can still be that fantastic beast down low, and even though a majority of the nights he's not going to be able to give it to you consistently on that offensive side, he is good for a double-double, and in my opinion, that's the type of center I want the Suns to have. They need that rebounder. They need that force in the paint, that defensive shot blocker. And a guy like Andre Drummond, even though he is a little bit older in age, he can still do that for you on quality time. Plus, Andre Drummond, like we mentioned, played a backup big role for the Bulls last year and did not make a ton of money. Now, ultimately, he could be chasing a little bit more of a contract here this offseason, but I'm sure that if a team like the Phoenix Suns were to call him, say, hey, Andre, would love to have you on our squad playing some impactful minutes, maybe not as a starting center, but as a backup center behind Jusuf Nurkic. But if Nurkic were to get injured, or if Nurkic is having a bad night offensively, you can come in, you can be that starting center, and you can come out and dominate on a cheap deal, like a veteran minimum, or a $4 million deal like he signed last season. I am all in for the Andre Drummond train. Let's get this going. Let's make this happen. I think that this move would be fantastic for the Suns as a backup center. Like I mentioned, most of the nights, he's not going to be that consistent offensive guy. But if Nurkic were to go down with injury, I trust Andre Drummond to come and fit in seemingly. And if Nurkic were to get in foul trouble or have a bad offensive shooting night finishing around the rim, you throw in a guy like Andre Drummond to come in, be that defensive shot blocker, fits in nicely alongside Kevin Durant and all the other wings you have. Woo-wee! I'm liking this Andre Drummond move. Now, obviously, like this article mentioned, like Evan Cedery mentioned, there are going to be a bunch of teams, a plethora of teams interested in Andre Drummond, as he still provides a quality backup center, possibly fringe starting center, depending on how teams view him in this free agency. But I think a team like the Phoenix Suns, who, have that option for him to be that backup center and possibly even be starting center if Nurkic were to go down with his injuries or possibly have an inefficient shooting night, I think Andre Drummond should be looking at some teams like the Suns who have really good quality players in our big three offensively, but don't have that big offensive glass cleaner-upper or even a star-studded center where they can kind of take over in that role, but they still have other good quality players. This team screams, let me come join that. I can be a product of success for the Phoenix Suns. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like that Andre Drummond move? Do you guys like the coaching additions that the Phoenix Suns made? Drop down your thoughts down below. Like I mentioned, I appreciate everybody's comments, your guys' support over here on Suns Digest. We're so close to 700 subscribers and so close to getting that goal of 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys do enjoy the content, enjoy what you guys are seeing, make sure you want to stay up to date on all the Suns news throughout the entire offseason as we lead up to the draft and into free agency and through the whole entire year. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure to check out the two videos up at the top here and to hit that like button. Would greatly appreciate you over here on Suns Digest. Once again, I'm Bruce Veliz. I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And let's go, Phoenix Suns.